Inquiring minds want to know what's going on in the financial services industry when it comes to female representation or diversity. Your thoughts? I thought I'd share 3 situations that I've observed recently within about a 2-week period that, if taken separately, might seem like not that big a deal, but because I happen to observe them so close to each other, it kind of stuck with me. Now, before I get stuck in my view or my perspective, I thought I'd put it out there for all of you to take part in. I'm really curious about your thoughts here and your perspective. So I'm going to tell you about these 3 instances that I observed and I was part of, and it just struck me as a little odd. And I think we need to raise questions around this. So here it is. I was recently speaking to my college students and I was teaching them about segregated funds and annuities. Now I'm not going to dive into this video about what are they, but essentially what I was referencing was some material that I found, some good material that I had found from 2 different really large financial services companies around segregated funds and annuities. Something that just, it took a step above the textbook. And as I was showing this material that was outlining, what is a seg fund and annuity, what are the features and benefits, those kinds of things, I noticed that the pictures in the marketing were almost the same from 2 different companies. And I'll post them right here if you can see them. Do you notice anything? I mean, they're men. It's almost the same looking, it's the same features. But my question is this: if annuities are meant to be a payout, whether for a certain amount of years or for life, and women are set to inherit trillions of dollars because they outlive men, why aren't women on this marketing material? I'd really love to know. And why not families? And why not more diversity of culture and race? So that was the one instance that I noticed, and it struck me as really odd. The second thing that I noticed was I had a guest speaker in my class talking about their experience and their journey in this industry and their career. I had a female student put her hand up and say, "Can I be a great advisor if I'm not great at math?" And I immediately wanted to say, yes. It's not quantum physics. It's not nuclear physics. And by the way, I know a nuclear physicist. It's not complex. And although you need to know some basic math, really great financial planning goes beyond the numbers. So the guest speaker answered basically yes. But what struck me was that I've noticed women tend to ask this question. None of the male students I've ever had have actually asked me this question. No male advisor that I've ever seen, no male leader that I've ever interacted with in this industry, and I've been in it for over 20 years, has ever asked that question. It seems like the women in the industry tend to ask the questions that relate to, will I be good enough? Do I know enough? Now, if you're in the industry, you know that when we are looking to hire people into the industry, when we are recruiting to different roles in the industry, we never ask the question, are you good at math? No, are you great at math? I've never seen it asked in an interview, because we know that a lot of the things that are calculation connected or related to numbers and formulas can be taught and learned, and we have systems and calculators in place, and we've got software in place that takes care of that. Now, do you need to understand some of the basics so that if something's not picking up properly in the software that you can figure it out? Sure. But you're not doing it alone either. Now, I know that some of my male students deal with imposter syndrome because I had actually one of them ask that question of another guest speaker of mine, but in a very small group. And I really appreciated him for putting it out there like that, because it was a real struggle. And that was the first time that I'd heard a guy trying to get into this industry ask about that, imposter syndrome. And he actually has family in the industry, and he's still asking that. So for that gentleman, I'd say you're well on your way. The self-awareness is huge and so important, and it will make you a better advisor. But what I'm wondering is, why do women ask these questions in financial services about, If I'm not great at math, can I be a great advisor? I know plenty of people who are great at math, who are CPAs, certified public accountants. They've got all kinds of designations, but it doesn't make them great advisors. Why? Well, there's a human element to it, right? And one of the things I've learned in my 20 plus years of being in this industry is I can present a perfectly logical plan with solutions and recommendations in black and white on paper. And if that doesn't connect with the person, if it doesn't consider what's really important to that person that's in front of me or people, a couple and family, then they're not going to move forward with it. That human connection is probably more important than anything else as an advisor. So why do we doubt our abilities as women in financial services? Why do we doubt our abilities to form relationships, to nurture relationships, to listen, to be empathetic to what people are going through, and to know what they're going to need, not just financially, but in terms of community? Here's the third scenario. I recently decided to do a market survey of sorts. I just wanted to check in with my community and ask some questions, not necessarily connected to the industry, just kind of like life, business, career, and get some insights. And that would inform me as to a program that I'm looking to put out, a mentorship program for professionals in this industry. And I sent out this email with, I'd love to do a short 15-minute market survey. Let me know when you're available. Now, these people know me well enough. We've had interactions, we've built some relationships. So it wasn't just a random blind email. It was to a group of maybe 25 to 30 people. Well, what was interesting was almost immediately, a handful of my male peers responded and said, yep, no problem, let me know when. But none of the female advisors in the group responded. I thought, well, that's odd. I sent another reminder to see, was there anybody else that wanted to participate in this market survey? 15 minutes, really short. So I sent that email again to the same group. Again, only the men responded, none of the women. Now, I happened to be hanging out with my mom, and I told her what was happening, what I was experiencing. And I said, Mom, how come the women aren't responding? Like, we need a ton of support in this industry. We really thrive on community. We thrive on supporting each other, and yet no one's responding. And so my mom said, Annie, the women are busy. And I get it. And she's right, but I still wonder. So I'm really curious. If you're listening to this video or you're watching this video, would you mind putting a comment at the bottom of this video just to let me know what's happening? What's going on in your life? I'm really curious. Are you experiencing these kinds of visibility issues or lack of representation? Think about the culture, the race, the gender that you are. And are you seeing you represented in marketing materials, in classrooms, in the office, in businesses? Is there a reason why you don't speak up? Or if you do speak up, are you satisfied with the responses that you're getting? Do you feel complete with the response or the action that's taken? And if not, what's stopping you from going further? And if you are in the financial services industry or you're thinking of getting into it, what doubts do you have? I know that when I got into the industry, I had my share of doubts for sure. I actually begrudgingly got into this industry. I actually didn't even want to get into this industry because I had a lot of preconceptions about it. My dad was an advisor. I saw how hard he worked, and I didn't feel like that's what I wanted to do. But really, the truth of it was, I didn't want to get into that kind of a social group. I didn't see myself represented. I didn't feel like I was going to be supported. I didn't feel like I was going to be trained and taught in a way that would work for me. Now, I wasn't wrong about that, but I was wrong about my ideas about what financial investments was, what investments could do, or how they helped people, or financial planning. Like, I really didn't know anything about that. In fact, I didn't have any schooling in university. I didn't study financial planning. A lot of people that I know that are in the industry don't go to school to study financial planning or investments or insurance or any of that. A lot of us fall into this industry quite by accident. Sometimes it's our second and third careers, and we learn along the way. And sure, we have our doubts, but I don't recall a time when I felt like I could go to somebody and talk about it, right? It was a very male dominated and still is to some degree industry. And I know some great supportive male peers and leaders, but they don't have to go through the same challenges that I've had. If there wasn't a version of me represented in the industry, if the marketing material wasn't speaking to me because I'm not a man with a nice goatee or a beard, if it doesn't speak to what I've been through, like separation, divorce, single parenting, being an immigrant, being an only child, being multicultural and multiracial, if the industry environment isn't set up to support that or to understand it, then where can we see ourselves? How can we see ourselves in financial services? Now, what I'm thinking is that the more of us that get into the industry to represent, ourselves, and then other people get to see themselves in us and the work that we do and the people that are in their community, then the more people will be encouraged to get into the industry, and in whatever capacity. It doesn't have to be as a financial advisor or a leader. It takes a lot of people to make financial services work. I've worked in corporate roles and in the field as well, and I've participated in initiatives and projects where I got to collaborate with different departments within a company. So I know it takes a lot of people, thousands of people, to make this machine work. And yet, after 20 plus years of me being in the industry, I'm still seeing the same kind of representation in marketing material, in the language that's spoken in that marketing material. There are still female students and young women asking if they're smart enough to be in this industry. I can tell you that I have seen all kinds of people be successful, but more importantly, help a lot of people with their finances. So I'm just curious. I'd love to hear from you. What is it that's really going on? What is it that stops a female advisor from responding to an email that could help them? Is it that they're too busy? Are they overwhelmed? Are they more overwhelmed than male advisors? Is there something else? I'd love to hear from you. And let's make this a conversation. I will respond to the comments, and I'll continue to speak on this and share some of my observations, my experiences, and my insights. So thank you for listening to this video. I hope that it got you thinking a little bit. I know it did for me. Maybe it gets you to question things for yourself as well, and your part in it, and the actions that you take. If you speak up or if you don't, what's stopping you? How are you affecting change in your industry? Maybe it's not financial services, but how are you affecting change in your industry? Is it by leading by example? Is it by partaking in community events and showing up? Is it recording a video and sharing your thoughts so that others can also be part of the conversation? So what are we doing? What are we doing together as a community? Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.